Hey guys, it is Sunday here in West Virginia, and today what I'm going to focus on is a video about why I collect what I collect. A lot of people ask me this, and I have a lot of new viewers and such that haven't been with me the entire 3 years that I've been doing videos on YouTube. So I'll explain that, and I'll explain why I got into collecting and such in this video. And then in the future, probably next week, I'm going to drop another video that will kind of help newbies try to get like settled in and kind of feel welcome to the hobby, because I know a lot of these Facebook groups and such, they kind of make you feel, I don't know, like an outcast, or kind of make you feel stupid or something, the way that they answer your comment or your post about like, what is this? Is this a chase car? Should I collect this? What should I collect? And blah blah blah. So I'll be a little bit more polite how I do this, and I'll tell you like my 2 cents on it. And basically nobody can tell you what to collect, but I can give you some pointers and guide you in the right direction, but I can't tell you what really to collect. But today we're going to get on the topic of like why I collect. When I was a kid, my father was always into race cars, predominantly General Motors stuff, because he worked for Chevrolet, the parts. I guess it was a parts plant in Parma, Ohio, where they casted parts and such, and he worked on the assembly line. So he's always been influenced by cars. He had a lot of drag race cars, like Pro Streets, that were drag cars, and on the street, tubbed out 57 Chevy, Chevelles, things like that. So I was always intrigued by cars. And when I was like, I don't know, probably 10, I started getting to the point where I really wanted to start collecting my Hot Wheels instead of playing with them. So I would always like keep a few nice ones around and such, but it wasn't really a true collection until I got to be about 14. Then I started like picking up items that looked like the real car, and then I got to the point where I wanted bigger scale, so I started collecting the American Muscle 1/18 by Ertl, and that was right around the time that they came out, when I was about 14, maybe 15, back in 93, 94, something like that. So they were really cool cars. My father and I picked up a few of them, collected them for a while, but when I got to be about 16, I lost interest in diecast and got into real cars and started restoring cars with my dad, and doing a little bit of racing and such things like that. Going to a lot of car shows like the ISCA Autoramas that were in Cleveland. We participated in those every year from the time I was, I don't know, maybe 15 till the time he passed away when I was like 23. We had a car in the show every single year. And anyways, when I was about 20 or 21, I started attending a lot of NASCAR races with one of my buddies, and I started getting that bug again to start collecting diecasts. So I started collecting NASCAR collectibles, predominantly Dale Earnhardt and Tony Stewart, mostly Tony Stewart stuff, because this is one tip I can give the noobs, like newbies getting into the hobby. The reason I picked Tony Stewart, because he was a good driver, but he was also a new driver. I was a new fan, new collector, so that's what I started collecting. Started following him because it was easy. I just started being a fan, so it was easy to follow him and learn all about him and collect his diecast cards. Earnhardt, on the other hand, he was around for several years before I started getting into it, so I liked him, and I liked a lot of his diecast and bought it, but I wasn't such a huge fan of him like I was with Stewart. So that's another thing I can tell new collectors, that maybe pick something that's new, like you, new brands, newer cars, or but basically whatever intrigues you. And as I said, that'll be in a different video. But after I don't know, 3 or 4 years of doing this, we quit going to races. I lost interest in collecting NASCAR diecasts and sold everything. Then I took a break for, I don't know, probably 4 years or so, and then I got into Hot Wheels again. I don't know, just one day I was at the store, seeing some really cool ones that looked like the real muscle cars, and bottom. I can't even recall which car it was. And another one that grabbed my attention at one car show I went to, I remember it was the Ecto 1 first edition in 2010. I bought it at the car show, and then I just got into wanting to collect again. I was collecting pretty much everything though. And then I finally got it narrowed down to collecting probably 4 or 5 different castings, and I focused on them. And then started collecting a lot of Chase stuff and RLC stuff, and it got to the point where I had a lot of big money items, and I don't know why, but every like 5 or 6 years, I get that urge to kind of just quit, and I did. And this time, I wish I wouldn't have sold everything, but I did, and I bought an '87 Olds 442, kept it for a few years, actually probably 2 years. And then I went to the Philippines for several years. I sold it and went to the Philippines and lived there. And when I was there, I got bit by the collecting bug again because I didn't have my Ols with me. I didn't really have a lot of people that I was communicating with there. Just my son's mother, and that was it. And it got to the point where I was getting bored and kind of felt like singled out. So I found out that there was a lot of collectors in the Philippines. So I started going to their meets, their swap meets, and hangouts and stuff, and started collecting again. And basically, at that time, I was collecting a lot of Mopar muscle, and then I got to the point where I wanted to do dioramas, and I had my dealership built by a friend of mine there, and I started doing the diorama thing, and then I started collecting chase cars because a lot of the stuff there was cheap compared to the US because a lot of guys were not interested in those type of cars. Some were, so the prices were probably, I don't know, 30% cheaper than what we'd pay here. I also started collecting race cars, old race cars like the vintage racing line from Hot Wheels and Drag Strip Demons, because they were reasonably priced there. So I started collecting that kind of stuff, and then I started learning about the brand Mini GT, and it was a new brand. I was new back into collecting, so I got into it. Started collecting all the R35s, then it kind of spread to Lamborghinis and other things. So I basically became a Mini GT guru, and I still kept my race cars and such and my Mopars, but I was really focused on the Mini GT stuff. And then I came back to the States in 2022 with my son so he can meet the family here. And I brought the collection back, most of it. And then I was just going to stay here and wait for his mother to arrive, but we had some kind of crisis in the summer of 2022 and we had to go back to the Philippines. So to be able to do that, I sold my collection at that time. And then I went back to the Philippines, and after I got things squared away there, I started picking up a few items, started doing videos again because I took a break from YouTube and everything for like 6 months. And anyways, I started to basically go back with Mini GT and a couple of other like Tarmac pieces and a couple of Mopar pieces and started doing videos with my diorama again. And then I came back to the States in March of 2023, and that's when I really started getting back into it because I knew I was here to stay, and I started getting into collecting and doing it with my son and such. So basically, right now, what I collect is basically the stuff that I named that I collect in the past couple of years and took breaks. Pretty much as you can see here, it's going to be like old gassers, race cars, and such. Pretty much the gassers and old like drag racing stuff. I'm not so much focused on the road race and NASCAR stuff like I was with the vintage racing. It's just is too unaffordable for me. So that's why I focus on the stuff that's a little bit cheaper. And then Mopar muscle. As you can see, there's some Polaris from Autoworld there. And sometimes I'll pick a casting that I really, really like and try to get all the variants of it, like this Polera. And also the 69 Chevy Kingswood wagon. I just have a thing for wagons and also trucks, but I'm not like a square body head where I just collect square bodies. I do love them, and I do have a few of them, but that's not what I mainly focus on. I'll focus on even the random Ford truck. As you can see, the pink party 62 Ford there. Some of the OBSs and the old 60, I think it's a 67 C10. And then also lowriders. Basically, what it is like, if I had to pick like three areas, it would be Mopar muscle, and then like utility vehicles such as trucks, wagons, and vans and such, and then JDM, but predominantly Nissan, and cars that are like influenced by the JDM culture, kind of like this Challenger right here. It's a wide body Liberty Walk Challenger. So that type of stuff I'm into, and that's basically what I collect now. And I don't collect any of the high dollar pieces. I just can't afford it. So I will focus on like the stuff that's reasonably priced and so forth. And I also pretty much stick with 164th. There is a 125th Plymouth Pro Street here. I am also a Christine fan, so that's why that car is there. And I have a little bit of a Christine collection, which you could see in a video that I did, I think it was earlier last week, about my Mopar collection and the like china cabinet that I have for a display area for my Mopar stuff. There's some of the like, I think it is like my Christine stuff, and then a few other muscle cars over there, but mostly it's all Mopar with the dealership and stuff. So that's pretty much what I collect. And really, the Mopar stuff, because I had a big influence in my life with Mopar from my friends. The trucks and lowriders, they're just because I like them. I mean, that's pretty much what you're going to find out when you're collecting, that you kind of focus on what you like and such. But I'll get into that in another video that I'll do next week about like my tips on beginners collecting and such, and if it should be an investment and not, and so forth. So we'll take a look at that next week. And then tomorrow I'll do a video on my small score of old drag strip demons and vintage racing stuff. We'll bring that to you tomorrow. So enjoy your Sunday, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow.